don't know how. We're just now trying to figure out what the heck a mortgage payment is and what interest is. And the power that they have in their vote is not being explained to them.
You were out there and saw that, at the ground floor, how that happens, visiting Massie during the whole election, that primary election he had, where he had $32 million spent against him, literally by like 3 billionaires who decided they just didn't like that he was pressing for the Epstein files and, didn't want to fund Israel into fucking kingdom come, And when you were out there, I think I cited it on some of our weekend shows, but like I liked some of your analysis because what you did is you went out and you were like taking polls at the polls of people of like who they were voting for and why and what had motivated them to do that. And you were able to paint a really good picture of how, in this case, a closed primary process, which is already going to be low voter turnout, you're required to be registered as a Republican to be able to do it. And, it's an off-season vote. I think this was in May or whatever, how an election can be turned with basically just paid misinformation. Yep. And I think it's valuable for people to see that because, unfortunately, now Thomas Massie, who was a 7-term congressman with a high approval rating until the very end there, and now suddenly being voted out when he stood for something, it's interesting with guys like him and maybe Ro Khanna coming up with his primary to see what they do there, spending against him. They're going the same way as like Frank Church in the 70s, who dared to call commissions questioning about the CIA's power and then suddenly had a lot of dark money spent against him to be pushed out. And that is like, I think it's important to sound the alarm for people all over the country by going there and showing people what you found and how people were swayed to do things and how fucked up the system is, because if it clearly hasn't been fixed at any point in the last 5 decades, so we got to fix it at some point. Otherwise, there's just going to be continued paid shills in there who vote against the interests of their constituents because they're paid by people that are richer.
Where does that progress? Because I hear you, and I did get to watch it, and it sucked to watch. I got to go. I was backstage with Massie, minutes after he realized he was losing. He was coming out for his commencement speech, and the vibe of his staff and everything. It was a downtrodden moment, shortly followed after by a great commencement speech, or not commencement speech. What's concession speech, right? That signaled maybe there's a 2028 something happening, and maybe that happens. But what changes that? Is it education so that people understand how these voting systems even work? Because I'll give one example of. Most people don't even show up for their own general election on off years because the main general election they'll show up for is the presidential election. Yep. But in the off years, you're only having people show up for things like Senate, Congress, and you get like 40% of the turnout, something like that nationwide. And then even before that general election on an off year, you have the primaries.
That's right.
Which in an area like Kentucky, which has been red in this seat, a 4th seat of Kentucky where Massie was running, has been red since the 60s. So whoever wins that primary right then and there to run for the Republican seat,
they're winning.
They're going to win.
Yep.
And it's happening in an off year, and it's happening 6 months prior in a primary that, just to be frank, people graduating high school don't fucking understand.
No.
They just don't know how. We're just now trying to figure out what the heck a mortgage payment is and what interest is. And the power that they have in their vote is not being explained to them when they become a voting age. We're not learning how to communicate in high school. We're not learning finances in high school. We're not learning anything that's going to be beneficial. We're definitely not learning how our political system works or how we have the power in our vote. Some may say we don't have the power in our vote. I would say there's room for that argument. But at the very least, an understanding of how it works, I think would benefit it dramatically, because what I got to see out in Kentucky was the polls were run by people that are 55 and over.
Mm-hmm. Who were watching AI slop ads that were fake.
The amount of people who told me that they voted for Ed Galrine, the person who ran and won against Thomas Massie, that said they voted for Ed because Massie was in a relationship with AOC. I had 3 different people say that because they saw an AI ad. Or the amount of people that just said simply, he's standing up against Trump. And I didn't argue with these people. It wasn't my place to sit there and have a debate with them. I was just there for data. But why do you want someone who's just a rubber stamp for whatever the party has priorly stood for instead of someone who independently thinks on your behest.
Because people are attracted to a cult of personality again and again and again.
Don't downtrod me with your dark energy.
No, I'm not trying to be dark. It's just human history. It happens again and again and again, regardless of political leanings. I can go all the way from one end of the spectrum to the other. And, you know, God forbid you question that and you do it from a lower peg, you're expendable. That's what I think. I don't know.
Just like you referenced, I think it was rigged, but I think it was rigged by money.
That's right.
And I think it was rigged by a foreign entity, which, whether it's Israel, whether it's Germany, Australia, China, Philippines, I think anybody who would be willing to, in a foreign country, spend tens of millions of dollars to make sure that 1 out of 535 lawmaker seats can be filled by somebody who's going to be a yes man is one of the most concerning things that you could possibly witness. And at this point, no one's talking about it. It's white noise at this point. It's what was that, 3 months ago now? And it seems like there's been 82 other things to talk about at that point. The muzzle velocity of things to worry about. It's like, okay, you now have 3 other things that you need to worry about. We can't focus on that anymore. And it is kind of downtrodden, or not depressing, maybe a little bit. But to watch the power of the vote be stripped from people based off of the misuse of capitalism.
Yeah.
Citizens United. The allowance for these foreign entities and corporations to spend unlimited money through super PACs to influence our elections. And wasn't just Massie. It's happening as we speak.
That's what I'm saying, though. We also have to look in the mirror and make those changes in America ourselves, because what's unfortunate is that what they did as of right now, like in that election, is legal.
Yes.
They were legally allowed to do that.
Yes.
And so, you know, the Mary Madelsons of the world have their priorities, and if they're legally allowed to do it, they're going to. So we have to change that.
The one good news is now that the Israeli and U.S. military intelligence are going to be linking. That's good. I mean, if we're going to pull some good news out of all that.
Yeah, we asked Senator McConnell about that. He wasn't happy with the 100 people that voted against it.
Oh, yeah.
He was very, very upset about that.
I didn't realize there were that many anti-Semites in the Congress. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
100.
Isn't that crazy? You get called an anti-Semite?
I have a complaint on my real estate license for it right now.
A complaint on your real estate license?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
People can just publicly, I'm a public independent contractor. So in our state, and I think most all states, you could submit a complaint to the Department of Regulations, professional regulations, for any which reason that you'd like. I think I've had 8 in my career. I don't have any that actually made their way to my license because they were all defensible or people that were just mad or whatever. But yeah, I have one right now, maybe a second one that's coming through based off of my online content, and both are around me.
Your online content. So let me get this straight. Because you critique a foreign government's influence within our own, because of the race of that government, people are allowed to therefore deem you a racist.
Sure.
Yeah. So I have given this speech a few times. It's pretty good. So I'm gonna give it every fucking time.
I'm locked in.
When I call out the Chinese government, I'm not xenophobic. When I call out the Russian government, I'm not Russophobic. When I call out the Ukrainian government, I'm not Ukrainophobic. When I call out the British government, I'm not fucking Anglophobic. When I call out the Saudi government, I'm not Saudi-phobic. But if I call out the Israeli government, they'll call you anti-Semitic. Fuck you. It's got nothing to do with anything. That's how you get to that. Using labels to excuse totalitarianism or anything along those lines is objectively one of the most evil things you can do. And the fact of the matter is, it just blows my mind that the same people doing that in Israel and that government share a race with people who were subjected to some of the same things they're doing now,
right,
not long ago.
Right.
And then they have the audacity to say, therefore, we're allowed to do what we want. And they have the audacity to call out all these governments, including our own, who allow them to exist effectively. Yeah. Blows my mind. And I will not stand for it. You know, I'm from New Jersey. Like, all my friends, Italian, Irish, Jewish, Black, Mexican, like, it's a very fucking diverse place. Mm-hmm. All right? I don't say anything that I wouldn't say to anyone in my life's face, including on this particular topic, any of my Jewish friends whatsoever, because nothing I say is anything more than a critique of a government's actions.
Right.
So the fact that that would make it to a public real estate license,
Yeah,
because you've been critical of that,
it's actually
disgusting.
The video of itself was a minute video. It's funny because in the video, all I was saying, because I got in a DM and it said, "Oh, it's the Jews again." So I responded and I said, "Careful, not the J word. Let's be very careful about who we're attacking here." And I broke it down from there. And that was the one that I got the complaint over.
Is where you were literally correcting
and my
them.
broker listened to it. He's
God.
like, "Are you sure this is the video?" I say, "Yes, this is the video."
That's nuts.
This is the video where I'm very blatantly explaining, like, "Hey, don't be a racist bigot here. Let's call out the people that are worth calling out." But to say an entire religion, an entire race, an entire
crazy.
people is the entire reason for another person's problems is bigoted.
Thank you guys for watching the episode. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and smash that like button on the video. They're both a huge, huge help. And if you would like to follow me on Instagram and X, those links are in my description below.